Hey guys, Prodigal Programmer here. Let's continue with where we left off. I'm not sure where that is exactly since this is all pre-recorded, but let's keep going, baby. I'm going to use this element, this symbol, which means basically everything, you're selecting everything on your HTML file. And I just want all the borders, box sizing, sorry. I want all of my boxes, no matter what they are, the boxes of my buttons, the boxes of my text, the box, like there's a border around everything, right? There's a border around text, there's a border around buttons, there's a border around forms. And I want all of my borders or all of my boxes to be sized as border box, which means basically, let's say you were to create a red square and then you create a border around it. If you don't put this code that I've just referenced into your HTML file, let's say the red square is 200 pixels wide and 200 pixels height. So all around 200 pixels, right? Now, if you add a border to it, let's say 5 pixels, the height now becomes 210 pixels because there's 5 pixels of border on top and 5 pixels of border below. And that's the same for the sides, right? So actually, when you say you wanted your box to be 200 pixels wide, 200 pixels high, it's now 210 pixels, right? So to change that, you put box sizing border box, which now makes your box, no matter what you do with the border, your box will always be 200 pixels. So the border starts to eat in to the box. So instead of having a box that is 200 pixels, you'll have a box that's 190 pixels and then have 5 pixels on top, 5 pixels at the bottom, which makes 200. And the same for the side. That's how box sizing works and border box. The more you know. So, what's next? Opening this up a bit. Let's do like 2EM. Let's do 2EM. We're going to use, what's the difference between margin and, what's the other one? Margin and padding. Margin and padding. Let's have a look quickly because I've forgotten. I'll inspect this. If we go to the bottom of any of these elements on an HTML file, you'll see what's referenced for this HTML element. So that's the actual element by itself. Then you have the padding, which is still part of the element, and you have 10 padding pieces, 10 padding pixels, 10 pixels of padding on your right, but a little less, 8 on your left, and then you have 4 pixels on the top and bottom, just to separate it from the rest of the other elements. You have a border of nothing, which makes sense. You don't want a black border or weird colored border on some text, and then margin, nothing as well. So the padding is part of the element, but the margin is actually outside of the element, if that makes sense. I'll be able to explain that in another video, but for now, just know that padding is part of the element. And we're going to do the same thing. So we have 4 pixels up and down, and then 10 right and 8 left. So there's actually a fast way to do this.
Hi!
I might leave this one in,
Like and subscribe.
I'm not going to say header list and reference the LI. Now, when you reference the LI like this, you'll see that it has a specificity value of 11, which is higher than 10, but lower than 100. So this is more specific than this, but less specific than this. If these all had the same code in them, this was the color of this was the color of that, or a different color, and this would be another color, and it was all the same, it was referencing the same exact item, this one would win because it's more specific. And that's a trick you can use throughout your CSS if you want to, like basically what I did with the li list or list items. They were all the same color, but then I specified to this one that I wanted it to be red, and that's why it beats all of these. It makes sense, right? Right. Okay, so anyway, I've referenced an li inside my class, which means basically it's selecting the ul, the unordered list, and then we're selecting the li inside the ul. And you can tell the way it drops down that that's what we're doing. And to do that, you just put a space and then type the element you want to select. So let's open that up, typing padding. It's actually a short form for all of these ones. Padding, you can specify padding left and only have padding on the left of your element, or the top of your element, or the bottom, or the right. For example, if I wanted to do all of the element, I'll choose, let's say 2em, which is by default 32 pixels, because 1em is by default 16 pixels. So if I save that and go to a website, you can see now it's massive, big spaces in between. If I want the top and bottom to be different from the left and right, I can say I want the top to be 10 pixels and I want the bottom to be 20 pixels, double. It depends on how many sizes you put in. So in the first example, I just put one size, and that did all the top, right, left, and bottom. If I do two sizes, let's check. So if I inspect this now, and then go to the bottom, come on, there we go. So top and bottom is 10 pixels, and left and right is 20 pixels. And that's what most buttons do actually. Normally they have a lesser amount on the top and bottom and a larger amount on the left and right, which makes it look like a button. No one wants square buttons, you know. If I now want to do the top and bottom to be the same, no, sorry, the top and the bottom to be different, but the sides to be the same, I could say I want that, which would mean top 10 pixels, left and right 20 pixels, and then the bottom 30 pixels. Let's test that out. Let's check it here. Yep, you can see that's how it works. The first size you reference is, it starts from the top, not from left. Some people would assume it starts from the left and then goes clockwise. It actually starts from the top and then goes clockwise. Depends on how you think. Now, if I put 4 things, 50 pixels, then you can see now the last thing I entered shows up on the left-hand side, which is the last element. And obviously you can only put 4 sizes in. What I want to do is 4 pixels, or was it 10 pixels? 4 pixels, and then 8 pixels. So if you have 3 pieces of code, just like that, 4, 10, 4, this references the top, that references the 2 sides, and then this references the bottom. But it's not like this would reference left, this would reference top and bottom, and then this would reference right. That's not how it works. So yeah, that's just something to know. Anyway, we've done. There we go. So we've given every single list item this attribute. So they should all be doing the same thing. And if I was to go on each element here, you see basket, open an account, login, and personal investors, they all do the same thing. It looks pretty nice now, right? Doesn't look exactly the same, but you know, we're not trying to be perfect in our lives. No one can be perfect in their lives, right? Okay, what's next? Let's actually figure out how to make this arrow after the personal investors word. It's also red, so it must be part of the list item. It doesn't have to be, but it probably is. Div with a class of arrow. Times 2. Yes. Times 2. Left. Okay, so that has its own ID. And then this one as well. I say ID, I just put a tab so it comes up straight away. Arrow right. Cool. So let's save that. And currently these divs have nothing in them. They won't show up on the file because they have no attributes. Now if I say class arrow braces and I give an arrow of color, no, background color. No, okay, first I need to give it a width. So the width will be 3 pixels, 2 pixels even. And then we'll give it a height of 10 pixels. Let's try that. And then we'll give it also a color of aquamarine. Oh yeah, background color, sorry. Background color, that's what we should be looking for. There we go. So that's too big. And they're right next to each other also. So let's what do we want to do? Let's make this smaller. We'll change it to 6 pixels. That looks better. Oh, it's even smaller. Let's do 5 pixels. Yeah, that's better. We also want, well, first of all, let's actually get it from the bottom and put it on the side. We're going to do that by using flex again. Now here we've got personal investors, which is inside the li, and then 2 divs inside the li next to the words personal investors. But because it's a list, it automatically does it in a column. And we want them to be side by side. How do we do that? You tell me. You're the Prodigal programmer. Right. Here. Last header item. Display flex. Let's see. Yeah. That's so tiny. That is so tiny. What's happened there? Let's change this back to 10 just to see. Oh, 10. Yeah, that's actually better. So that's weird. I don't know why that changed it so much. Let's give it a easier color to see. I'm gonna put hashtag 000, which references black. There we go. Perfect. It's even smaller than that though. That's the thing. Okay, you know what? Let's just make the item first. So, okay, so these 2 divs are right next to each other and we want to separate them, which is why I made the ID of arrow left and arrow right. These are 2 lines really close to each other that I want to separate. So, hashtag arrow left braces, and I want arrow left to rotate. I don't think this works. Can I just literally type this? If I could just type it and it works, then that's crazy. 45 deg for degrees. It worked! It worked! That's amazing. Okay, so now let's just copy all of that. I'm gonna hold Shift, Alt, and press down, and then I'm gonna change the left into right, and I'm gonna give this one minus 45 degrees. Hope I did it in the right order. Nope, other way around. So this one I want to be minus. This one I want to be normal 45. There we go. Really, really close. So we're gonna have to back that up a bit. Let's give arrow a padding left, sorry. We only need to do the left hand side. 5 pixels. Oh, yes, of course. This makes perfect sense. So because I've changed the padding and this is just a div, the padding having a background color of black makes the padding just increase. Remember I said the padding is part of the element. So of course, if I increase the padding on the left by 5 pixels, the element also increases. We don't want that. So let's change that to actually a margin of left. That's better. They're far away from each other. I want them to be far away from personal investors. So this needs to be closer. That's better. It's also, this is so much smaller. Look how small that is. That's ridiculous. I'm gonna, every time I look at it, it looks smaller. Okay. Let's give it a width of 1 pixel, which is crazy. It's not that crazy. I don't know why I said it was crazy. So we need the margin left to be like 3 pixels maybe. That's perfect. Now I want this to be away from personal investors. And in the middle as well. It's in the middle of the word. I know how to do this, I'm sure. Yeah. We're gonna put a div. Yeah. We're gonna put a div called arrow. This is what I should have done from the beginning, really. And then put these 2 divs inside alt and then up. So now it's inside the div. And I just have to delete this class. If I press Command D or Control D probably, and press D, how do I explain that? Okay, so I hold Command and then press D and it gives me license to use anything that has the same exact name. So these 2 elements have exactly the same class. If I just press backspace, it deletes both of them. And then you press Command D again, I think. No, that doesn't work. Just press escape. Yeah. So once you press escape, you're just back to normal. But if I wanted to delete all of the IDs in this text, I could highlight ID and then put Command D. That's now selecting both of those. You can see at the bottom here, it says 2 selections, 6 characters selected, which makes sense. And then Command D again, and 3 selections. And if I just press backspace, it deletes all of them. I'm going to bring them back by undoing that and then pressing escape to just bring it back to 1. So you're learning all types of shortcuts with good old Prodigal programmer. Yeah, so the div is, oh, another interruption. How fantastic. Great. Please don't interrupt me, Buddha. I have a cat called Buddha. He's the cutest. Shall I show you Buddha? Say, click like for show cat. I can hear him already. Okay, I'm gonna show him. Buddha! Say hello. Well, no, say hello to the screen. Look at the screen. There you go. Anyway, back to this. So I've now got a div with a class of arrow, and then 2 divs inside that arrow div called arrow left and arrow right. This shouldn't change my file. Oops. Okay, it's changed my file because in my style sheet I've referenced arrow. He wants to get out. But so we actually want these to have a class. We still need them to have a class. Equals, and we're gonna give it a class of, I don't know, I don't care. But you have to name them, you have to have your naming conventions correct, or things fall apart quickly. Things fall apart. Great Roots album. Anyway, the class should be arrow really, or arrows. Arrows. Oh, I could just call them lines. I don't know. Arrow line. There we go. Let's close that up. So we've got both these divs with a class of arrow line, and then 2 different IDs, left and right. So now if I call this arrow line, I think I'm doing this the long way for sure, but here's what it is. Now we need to give it a display of flex. So everything inside this class will be flexed up and will turn into rows. Yeah. Buddha, you need to behave. Can you hear him, guys? Subscribe if you can hear my cat. We've done that now. We've got it there. Now we should be able to command this to move wherever we want it to move. You know? You get that? And I want to move it with, let's see our HTML file. The div is called arrow. That should move everything. So now what I want to do is margin left, just like the other one. Oh, my hair's coming out. My locks, my luscious locks. 10 pixels. And close, this closed. There we go. Oh, and also to get this arrow in the middle of the word, instead of at the top, you can see it's at the top. What we want to do is reflexive. Now we want to justify content and change it to the center. So let's look at that. It didn't change. It didn't change. Isn't it justify content? What's the other one? There's justify content and then there's align items. Let's try align items, because I think that's what it might have been. How embarrassing. Center. It was align items. I can see that it's not straight. If you go really, really close, I'll zoom in and you'll see that it's not very well done. I think there's a pixel out, so what we should do is change this to 2 pixels. Oh, that looks perfect. That's basically perfect. I think we can be happy with that. I think we can be very happy with that. And it's close enough away. I say we've said 10, didn't we? So let's change this to maybe 8 pixels. I'm liking that. So we'll save that. Right, so now we need to give it the same color. Background color I want to do. You gotta try anything, you know? There we go. Success! Cool. So we've got this done now. Looks a lot like this. this, I can't believe how long this took. Oh, you know what? I'm going to stop here for now, actually, because this is taking long. Okay, see you in the next one, people.